It's the mantra in so many sports. They all count one. And yet, if the Rangers had won 2 of 3 instead of 1 of 3 against the Blue Jays way back at the end of May, everything might be different now. Let's talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. So do the Texas Rangers get an assist? They get a playoff share? I don't know. It seems like they, and somebody in the chat pointed this out, so we started looking at it. It looks like the Rangers series in May really helped launch the Blue Jays to become what they have become. Hi there. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. The Queen, Kat, is over there. And we're awfully glad to have you in the chat already. Keep the chat and chatter coming as we roll on through this afternoon of baseball and Rangers talk. We may even dive into some of the things happening in that basketball, that big breaking basketball news. So stand by for that. But we start with this, and I wish I remembered. Maybe you do, Jeff, who brought it up in the chat.
I don't remember.
I don't either. But
somebody smart.
Yeah, somebody really smart said, I think that the Rangers, that series against the Rangers in May helped launch the Blue Jays. Well, the research shows that the Blue Jays got here as a 25-27 team, Jeff. And they left after that. They went 69-41 the rest of the way.
Well, very, very clearly, then something happened in Arlington.
Right. It was that jet fuel that they gleaned from playing inside at Globe Life Field. And off they went. In fact, they went home right after that series where they took 2 of 3 from the Rangers. And they swept the Athletics 4-0, outscoring them like 265-3 or something.
It was pretty lopsided. And you know, the funny thing is there are only 7 runs total scored in that series.
Yeah, the Rangers
series. 4 by the Blue Jays as they won 2-1. Lost 2-0, and then I think won 2-0, which is nuts. But also was like, well, that's our Rangers this year.
Yeah.
You know, the first game was started. It was DeGrom against Gossman, and that was the start that DeGrom didn't strike anybody out, or like the first time in 1,000 years, or maybe ever. I don't remember.
Might have been ever.
And he pitched well. You know, he gave up the 2 runs,
5 innings,
but he. Right? That was the game he didn't strike anybody out. So that tells you how darn good the Blue Jays are at putting the ball in play. And then there was the start that the Rangers won, and I believe it was Bruce Bochy bobblehead night. Where is it? We got it somewhere. Here it is. It was this night. The Rangers won that game, but was that the game that Eovaldi was injured in?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
it is.
And so that was you know, like, oh man, he only pitched 2 innings. What's going on? And they're like, oh, he's just going to skip a start. And that's what he thought all the way until they put him on the injured list.
Definitely.
And he ended up missing almost a month, which, you know, set back his chances at the All-Star team and all of that. And you know, at a time when really the Rangers needed the best pitchers they could possibly get their hands on, and they lost him. And then not that long after, you'll recall, Tyler Mahle got hurt about 10 days later and was out for 3 months.
Yep.
So it was a pivotal series for the Rangers, but also for the Blue Jays because it just got them going, you know. And like you said, they swept the A's. Then they took 2 out of 3 from the Phillies, and then they went back on the road. Won 5 out of the 6 games on the road trip. So that was the start the Rangers were the start. So yeah, way to go, Rangers.
Yeah. So and I like Jake's comment. That was thinking about maybe that as the headline on the thumbnail there. You're welcome, Blue Jays. You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, because it does seem like the Rangers did them a solid. The interesting thing about it, Jeff, is the Rangers had played a couple of more games at that point, but when the series started, the Rangers were 26 and 28, or 26 and 29, and the Blue Jays were 26 and 28 or something. I mean, crazy. They were the same team.
Right. And really the Blue Jays were where people thought they would be.
Right.
It was the Rangers that were the disappointment. And they had, the Rangers it was the series started on Memorial Day. So the prior weekend they were in Chicago against the White Sox and darn near got swept. Yep. Needed a miracle to not be swept.
Yep.
That was the series where Jock Peterson got hurt. So it wasn't all bad news, but it was just at a time you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is this must be who they really are?
And you wondered it, and then but what we still at that point all hoped for was that 69-41 run, right? That we kind of almost thought the Rangers would be the team. If one of the teams was going to go on a 69-41 run, we kept waiting still, I think, at that point at the end of May, kept waiting for the Rangers to do that. And obviously, they never did.
Right. And, coming out of the All-Star break, there was the momentum there of the 8-1 homestand to open up, which immediately went south on the road trip, which ended at the trade deadline in Seattle. But still, they made the moves at the deadline. Like, all right, hey, let's see how this plays out. Didn't get a bat, but let's try to outpitch him with Merrill Kelly and these bullpen additions. And they kind of teetered along, and then the young guys got going, and really, going into that Houston series, they were still in the playoff hunt and kind of in the thick of it. And then it just they ran out of their magic.
Well, they did. And then speaking of the of that playoff, or rather of the trade deadline acquisition, so in late August, then the Rangers go take on the Blue Jays in Toronto, and by which point the Blue Jays were a 72-51 team,
right?
And the Rangers were still middling right around there at 500. They were 61-62 at that point, and they lose Game 1. A heartbreaker, 6-5 was the final, and the two guys that kind of coughed it up there for him were Coulomb and Maton.
That was after Maton had blown the game against Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
and it happened in the 8th inning here. So anyway, and then Corbin got knocked around
the next day.
Next day.
Yeah, they lost that one 14-2.
Yeah, I think Corbin gave up 6 or 8 runs in an inning and a third or something like that. Just a terrible matchup for him. But then they won the finale, right?
Yep.
You're like,
and won that pretty big, 10-4.
10-4, I think. I recall, but that was also the series when Marcus Semien had gotten hit by the pitch. I think that was Friday night, or it was Saturday.
I think it was Saturday.
And but he was starting to come around a little bit, and Evan Carter was starting to come around a little bit.
Yes.
And then they went to Kansas City and lost 3 out of 4. And in that game, in that last game, Marcus Semien broke his foot and Evan Carter broke his wrist.
Yep.
And so that kind of forced the young guys in even more. And then eventually the injuries caught up with them.
Yeah.
So some really, pivotal Toronto series for the Rangers.
Yeah, and that exactly, very pivotal. And that at that point when they came home and they found out too that Evan Carter and Marcus Semien were going to need to go on the injured list, it was like, okay, well, that's it. They're done.
Well, and then
didn't Evo happen
Evaldi
right after that?
Yeah. And Jake Berger got hurt in the Toronto series. His wrist and had to go on the injured. So it was like a 4-player kick in the gut in a matter of span of days.
Yeah,
and
then they went,
and then they took off
their best stretch of the season.
But then it just They didn't have the
No.
They ran out of magic, or the scouting caught up with them. Whatever it was,
Yeah.
It didn't sustain itself.
Yeah, but again, to the point of each of those games that they all count one. That whole sense of each of those games being so important. The Blue Jays and the Yankees finished the regular season with the exact same record, and the Blue Jays won the division based on head-to-head against the Yankees. So that's where that one game on the Friday night in Texas in May, where the Blue Jays win it 2-1. Well, if it goes just the other way, or the Rangers come up with a hit in the bottom of the ninth inning or whatever, who knows what might have happened with this Blue Jays team if they hadn't won the division, if they hadn't had home field advantage throughout, all of those things that were won by that 69-41 stretch.
Yeah, and you look at the Blue Jays, and you suspected they were going to hit just because they have they have Vlad Guerrero, and they had Bo Bichette, and Varsho had a nice year the season prior, and they had some veterans in the rotation with Gossman and Bassett and Scherzer, who was hurt at the time when during the Rangers series, and then Berrios, and so they had some guys, and they had signed Hoffman as the closer, so there were some pieces that were there. It just hadn't come together, and again, I think a lot of people at the start of the year thought that Schneider would be fired, maybe the first manager gone, and so they needed this turnaround, and it kind of coincided with just the East not being great,
right?
And the
beating up on each other,
and the Red Sox having some problems, and the Yankees always have a stretch where you think the world's ending because they lose 6 of 7 or whatever,
right?
And and that wasn't the Judge injury situation. That was a little bit later in the season when they came to the Globe Life Field, but they took advantage of what turned out to be a soft spot in their schedule. The Rangers were not a great team.
Right.
The A's were not good. Phillies were good, and they took care of business against the Phillies. The Twins weren't good, and they took care of business against the Twins. So just in that little stretch, and you can always point out these stretches in a schedule. It's like, all right, these next 15 games are going to be ball busters.
Yeah.
Or boy, there's a chance
we
to
need
make up a lot of
hay.
ground here. And that might have been a spot where they were like, all right, we can do it here. And again, and it's while they have some star power, there are some guys that you're just like, hey, I never heard of this guy.
Right.
and there they are.
The Ernie Clements of the world, and all of a sudden he's killing it. He's got a 1,200 OPS.
Nathan Lucas, I thought it was Luke's.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. Yeah. And so these guys have just blossomed and flourished in this Blue Jays lineup, and this entire team has flourished. And again, we're half tongue in cheek that it all started with the Rangers, but they were the Rangers at that point. And so to your point, like if they were looking at a schedule, why would they think, well, something started in Texas, other than the fact that Texas had been underachieving so much? Everybody knew that. But at the beginning of the year, everybody expected Texas to be one of the teams really in the hunt in the American League.
Yeah, well, if you're the Rangers, you survive that Sunday afternoon game in Chicago, and you're coming home for a homestand. You're like, hey, we've got DeGrom and Eovaldi starting. We're in good shape against this team that's just sputtering along. We got a chance here. And really, the series played out the way you thought it would. Low scoring,
yes,
because the Rangers couldn't score and their pitchers were very good at preventing runs. But the Rangers you need to win series, right? Got to win the series. They didn't win it.
Nope.
And the Blue Jays did, and hey, the rest is history.
The rest is history, as they say. They are headed to the World Series. Coming up later in the show, we will be talking more about the series in general and more about the Blue Jays specifically. But coming up next, we are going to talk about another weakness on the Rangers this past year. The past 2 years. It's the leadoff spot. Let's talk that next as we continue with the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So one of the greatest scenes in sports, really in any sport across the board, is when the marathon runners at the Olympics, it's almost always that they finish in the biggest stadium, wherever they are, and they cross through some kind of a tunnel and they're in the stadium, and the marathon winners breaking the tape. You have a chance to replicate that at Globe Life Field, because the 5K that's going to be run there on November the 9th finishes center field, Globe Life Field. Are you kidding me? What a thrill to run through one of the tunnels from outside. You're running all around the entertainment district, and then you come in and you do like this. Even if you're like third to the last place, you still do this like you've just won the Olympics. You got to sign up for this 5K by November the 2nd, but it's really going to be a fun time with a party afterwards. It's the Rangers 5K, globelifefield.com/Rangers 5K to find out more.
And this episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, where it pays to be right. You make decisions every day. That's what you're doing with Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. You're making lineups of 2 to 6 players for as little as $1, and you're just predicting whether they will have the players will have more or less than a particular stat. Like the other day, they had their crazy super discount on Steph Curry scoring more than half a point.
Yeah.
Well, he did score more than half a point. Yeah. So I ended up winning a couple of my hitting a couple of my lineups there. I was a little bullish on Cooper Flag, maybe a little too bullish for his season opener. So I had some Cooper Flag issues last night. So I made the wrong decisions. But you're not making a wrong decision when you do Prize Picks. So go to download the app, prizepicks.com, use the code DLLS to get $50 in free lineups after you use your first $5 lineup, after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it pays to be right.
Yeah, let's address T.O., who says Rarities wants some damn answers, and you're right, T.O. Rarities does, so let's try. What's the deal? It's like a Jerry Seinfeld bit, right? What's the deal with no coaching announcements? I mean, have you noticed this? What are they waiting on? I mean, again, who knows? Because the last 3 days have been dark in baseball, so they're not necessarily waiting on the commissioner and his edict to not steal away the thunder by making big, huge splashes. And obviously, other teams have used this time. The Angels, the Giants, as we'll get to more later in the show, to get their new managers. So it's a time they could have made this announcement. And so then it begs the question, Jeff, are they maybe waiting even on just that one guy who might be on one of the 2 active, teams that are still active in the World Series, on their coaching staff, and then they want to announce it all at one time? Who knows? I mean, that's speculation.
They are big about that, and making a lump announcement. I'm telling you, they probably weren't thrilled that the Bobby Wilson news broke right after the season. So I've been in communication with a couple of them, and one of them said, I'm in limbo. I'm waiting to hear. I haven't been promised anything. Another one said, well, things are looking good. So we'll see. Contracts run through Halloween.
Yep.
Every year. Every MLB contract runs through October 31st. And so they might be waiting for that, which is next week. They're also having their pro scouting meetings this week.
Yep.
Which is a time for them to, in addition to evaluating their team, personnel, and all of that, it's also a time for people to come in for interviews.
Sure.
And sit down.
And we expect that those concluded today, or will conclude today.
The meetings are supposed to end today.
Yeah.
So maybe at the end of the day, there'll be some news. Like, there's some little business things that need to be announced. For instance, the players, the awards that the media votes on at the end of the year: player, pitcher, rookie, nice guy, or good guy, hardest working.
Yep.
Those are all due to be announced. And then there's some roster cleanup that needs to happen, though that can wait, I guess, until the end of the month. But you got all the guys who are on the 60, they need to come back on the 40. Then you have some other decisions you're going to make. Are you creating some roster spots by DFAing a guy who you think can get through? And they still have time to potentially hammer out some deals with their own free agents.
Sure.
Like, as we've been talking about, they probably should do a Sean Armstrong.
Yeah, for sure, Armstrong.
So anyway, I would think that if there's going to be any news of import here in the next couple of days, it would be today. The World Series starts tomorrow. Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be an off day. I doubt that the Rangers would announce anything on a Sunday. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, potentially Wednesday if the series ends in 4 games. But then maybe Thursday there could be a series of announcements to stamp out to make sure you're not taken away from the World Series.
Sure.
And then little things might break. One of these coaches I've been in communication may say, "Hey, I'm in," or "Hey, I'm out."
Yep.
And so if that happens,
we'll bring that to you.
I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the Rangers always have been, and they are very very good at keeping a lid on things like that, which does make the Bobby Wilson thing that happened right away, like the day or two after Skip Schumacher was named. We learned that Bobby was out, and that it was a little surprising.
Well, and for instance, they still haven't announced that Nathan Eovaldi had surgery.
Right.
It's like, why not announce that?
Yes. Yeah.
Once it's out there.
Yeah.
Why not just go ahead and say, hey, he had surgery, so and so did it, and he's gonna be fine.
Yeah. He'll have a regular off season.
Right. That's all you have to say.
However they want to call it. Yes. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, obviously, and we've been working our sources to try and figure it out, but no news right now. We feel pretty good, to answer Natalie's question. We feel pretty good about Maddox, based on, reading between lines and talking to people and everything else, that both Schumacher and CY, and actually Ross too, so all 3 of them are very high on not only him, but really all 3 of the pitching coaches.
Yeah.
So I think that they're probably he's probably all 3 of them likely, unless one of them finds something better. But I think all 3 of them are almost certainties. And then beyond that, we're just not sure.
Yeah, I don't think Mike wants to go anywhere else.
Right.
I mean, he left St. Louis hoping to land some sort of job with the organization, and then they're like, "Well, hey, how about you be our pitching?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it." And 3 years later, he's in a position to continue the run. And he worked with Skip that last year in St. Louis. Obviously, CY likes him and Ross like him. I mean, how can you not like the guy that posted help the pitching staff post the best ERA in baseball? I mean, come on.
And like one of the best in Rangers history, dating back to when pitching was a much bigger deal in the 70s and it was harder to hit. So anyway, that's
so but as one of these guys said, may look good, but you never know until the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. They're not doing this for free. I'm assuming they don't want to take a pay cut. They probably want a pay raise. So they have to negotiate a contract, things like that. But Skip is definitely interviewing guys that he wants that are from outside the organization, and whether they can make a deal and want to come in or not, that may be why a couple coaches are saying, "Well, I'm kind of in limbo here." So we'll see. Yep.
So this leadoff hitter thing, not just about this year, in the history of this franchise, Jeff, they just haven't had a great leadoff hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the best leadoff hitter? We haven't talked about this. Who's the best leadoff hitter? And I have a guy in mind in Rangers history. Not, and again, the history. You could do it just since you've been here, but in Rangers.
It's, if I guess you could say Kinsler or Chu.
Yeah. I say Ian.
Mm-hmm.
I was here for Tom Goodwin.
Yeah.
He was very good. But he wasn't here long.
Yeah, for a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
So Tom Goodwin was really good at it. Daryl Hamilton did it, I think, for a year. He was really good at it. But God rest his soul. But but they just even Kins, to me, he did it well.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 30 home run seasons from the leadoff spot.
30-30, yeah.
Yeah, 2 30-30s and then a couple of 20-20s. So he did it very well. Somehow he never felt like a prototypical leadoff guy to me.
Yeah.
But he did it well. But then, you just can't name a whole bunch of guys over the history of this franchise who have been great at the leadoff spot, and certainly in 2023, you would say, again, if you're going to give Goodwin or Hamilton a nod for what they did for a year, Marcus Semien. In 2023, Marcus Semien finished third in MVP balloting, and he spent the entire season in that top spot in the batting order. But clearly, even then, I didn't think he was a prototypical leadoff guy.
He's not.
No, and then he's proven since as the offensive downfall has occurred that's not where you want him in the batting order.
Yeah. Well, I guess we date ourselves when we're growing up. And we're like, oh, well, who's the leadoff hitter? Like a guy who is fast and takes a lot of pitches and draws walks.
Yeah. Steals bases.
Right. Right. And so
makes stuff
Ricky
happen.
Henderson, of course, and
Mickey Rivers. There you go.
Maybe
Tio.
Vince Coleman there for a while with the Cardinals. You just think of these guys who are super fast and whatnot. High OBP guys, or at least that's what you're hoping for, ideally, and Ricky Henderson's on base percentage was outrageous, but you kind of look at Semien and, 23, his OPS was 348. Oh, that's not bad. That's a career high for him. Okay. So it's not like he's been rattling off. Well, it's the second best in his career.
Okay.
So it's not like he's been, a 350 OP.
Was the Toronto year his best?
Yeah. No. The Oakland year. Oakland in 19, when he also finished third. So he's finished third in the MVP voting 3 times in his career. And now everybody's like, oh, well, Evan Carter works the pitchers. Full count Carter, he's got a great eye, and he can run into one and give you the 1-0 lead. That seems to be more of a requirement now for a leadoff hitter, is the ability to start the game with a home run.
Yeah.
And
look,
that's what you could do.
Ricky did that.
Ricky Henderson
Ricky
did
could
that.
do that.
Yeah, there's like a question out there, a trivia question. It's like, this guy broke up more no-hitters than anybody in baseball history with 81 or whatever it was. It's like, that's the career leadoff homers he hit.
Right. Okay.
So technically, it's
yeah.
It's not like he did it 81 times in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. But so that's one way to look at it that I never looked at it. But anyway, the point being, and I think you still want the guy who's going to get on base, right? Kenny Lofton. Okay, I like Kenny Lofton.
Yep.
Get on base, run into some balls, steal a bag, and also be able to handle the bat. Be able to get on in a variety of ways, because if you there's just a lot of things a leadoff hitter needs to do. But again, sometimes he's only guaranteed to bat first once in a game.
Absolutely.
So I do think the leadoff hitter can be overrated sometimes, which then allows for a guy like Semien to succeed in that spot, because he may come up in his next at bat with runner at second and third, and then drive him in.
Yeah. Well, and I saw Kelly Man earlier, and I agree with that. And I think Jeff and I in particular think about this crap too much, but I've just been thinking a lot about full count Carter in that leadoff spot. And I like Kelly Man's point. I'm really not wanting a lefty there, because I want Corey Seager in the 2 spot in the batting order. So I'd really rather have a right-handed hitter there. There's not an option, right? I don't think there's really, because I don't want Wyatt Langford there. So I don't know that there's really a good option as a righty, so maybe they can find one in free agency. But I'm waning on, even though he is good at seeing pitches and all that kind of thing, 2 things, obviously, about Carter. One, it would be back-to-back lefties. But 2, he still hasn't proven that he can hit lefties.
Yeah, and I was gonna mention that, and I saw Natalie in the chat earlier, and she's, she is the leader of the Evan Carter playing every day charge. And I'm not saying you're wrong there at all. I don't disagree with you, but for now, it looks like if Evan Carter is the best choice to be the leadoff hitter, he's the best choice to be the leadoff hitter against right-handed pitchers.
Right.
So you're going to need a platoon guy. And I was thinking about this coming in, because I think about weird things. We were talking about, well, what about Michael Hellman as the platoon partner in center field? I would probably lean more towards Sam Haggerty, who is going to be a very affordable in arbitration. He's a switch hitter, very fast, aggressive on the bases when he when he gets on. And he batted .318 this year against lefties.
Okay.
So, that's not bad. But again, you want a platoon guy at the top of your lineup. It's just a weird scenario.
I don't think I do. But
hey, if you got to put your best 26 on the field,
you do.
If you're restricted financially and can't go out and get a great potential leadoff option, well, okay.
Sure, and if that allows you to then put, some of your best hitters in a spot and leave them there, which is what they all prefer, right? So you definitely want to leave Corey there at the number 2 spot, and then probably Wyatt in the 3 spot. And we can debate over who the cleanup guy is, but it may be Jake Berger there, whatever. Those hitters like being in the same spot. So if a platoon at the top allows you to do that, I'm okay with that, I guess.
Yeah. T.O. says, Arise, perfect.
Yeah.
327 OPS this year, 363, though, for his career. Not OPS, on base percentage. So
just got no place to play him.
But the last 2 years, below 350 on the on-base percentage. Yeah, but he's going to hit. So you figure it doesn't matter really how you get on base, just as long as you get on base. I could roll with that, because he's not a platoon player, that's for sure.
Not at all. All right, that's a little leadoff talk. We'll talk lots more about it, of course, during the course of this offseason.
Man, that went fast and long.
Yeah, I know, man. We're over. Once again, we get into this stuff, and we're over time. We're sorry about that, Kat. And here we go to segment 3. We're going to talk the series. It starts tomorrow. Let's look at some nuggets, some tidbits, some thoughts on the World Series next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Well, John, I don't know which one I'm doing because I closed that window.
Club.
Oh, the Supporters Club. Hello, supporters. T.O. has made a lot of you supporters. Some of you did it independently. We thank you for your support as members of the Supporters Club. Look, it's just another way to get more information and become a more knowledgeable sports fan. And you guys are all super smart. I mean, you guys have tremendous knowledge of the team and know the histories. But this is stuff that's kind of like, things you can't get in a book or watching a game or MLB.com or baseballreference.com. We'll give you stories, and that's for all of our beats. We've been around. I mean, once the season starts, before every road series, we can do places to eat in
sure. Yep.
in such and such and such and such. We've been there. Go get a beer here. This and that. Anyway, $5 or $15, you get emojis. $15 levels get you the videos. So yeah, do the Supporters Club thing. It's pretty awesome.
So is the newsletter. Ollie is in there every day, and still at the top is an opportunity for you to buy a Rookie of the Year shirt for Cooper Flagg. Get them while they're hot. Cooper Flagg started his career with a double-double, by the way. Everyone seems pretty disappointed by the opening night and the performance of the Mavs. But look, Cooper Flagg was fine. I was part of the coverage of the Spurs broadcast the year that Victor Wembanyama got things started. And, there's growing pains for rookies. So
especially when they're 18.
Yeah, 18 years old.
Jeepers.
So it's okay. It's okay. We don't need to push the panic button on those Mavs yet. But you can read all about that. No, you don't even look for it.
Oh.
You can read all about that in our newsletter for free. Scroll down, bottom of our page, alldlls.com, and you'll see a little box, and it'll say, would you like to get the newsletter? And you type in your email, and you get it, and you'll be more knowledgeable there, too. Okay, so this World Series, have you heard it's coming up, Jeff? Friday is the beginning, Game 1 of the World Series.
Game 1.
It will feature two teams one team who everybody thought would be there, and one team who almost nobody thought would be there. And, there's just so many cool subplots. We talked a little bit about the big day in December of 2023. We talked about this yesterday, where it looked like Shohei Ohtani was going to Toronto to sign as a free agent after playing his first 6 years in the Angels organization. Turns out he signed with the Dodgers. So Ohtani is obviously a huge part of this thing because he's literally the best player in baseball. And if you don't believe me, listen to one of his assistant coaches, former Rangers manager, Chris Woodward.
I get asked a lot about Shohei, obviously. And I think the thing that strikes me is just its consistency every day, whether it's going good or bad. And we don't see bad very often. But even in the playoffs, he was struggling a little bit. And, his ability to just kind of keep coming, keep working, and the way he treats people, just the humanity that this guy brings to, life itself is the thing that's startling to me, because I've been around a lot of superstars as a player, as a coach, as a manager, and I've never seen anybody like him, the way he just treats people and the way he takes it all in. And I know he has the world, wanting every bit of his time, but he stays committed to his craft, and he's in there working. I watch him in the cages. He doesn't take BP on the field, but I see him in the cages and just watch his commitment to it all. And how he handles it all physically, I don't know. And how he handles it all mentally, I don't know. He's not human, but he does it with class and integrity and all the things that you would value. You know what I mean? And it's been really, really impressive to watch.
I love Woody's comment. He's not human. I think he is human. But I get the point. He doesn't seem like it. And it really is amazing when you consider there's an entire nation, Japan, hanging on every pitch, every swing, everything that he does, as well as all the Dodgers fan, the huge Dodger nation here, and just the baseball world here watching and enjoying everything he does. And I will say, just observing it from a distance, Jeff, but he really does seem to be like, I just felt like, for example, Barry Bonds just got so beaten by all the coverage that he just became angry. Maybe he was from the beginning. I don't remember him being that way at the beginning. And I do think that all that attention, all that adulation, all that media coverage can just, make you sour. And it doesn't seem to have done that to Shohei Ohtani at all.
Well, I think one big difference is the language barrier.
Yeah.
And it helps him because, and he's very, very protected by the PR staffs, both with the Angels, to the point where the Japanese media was just very, very angry with how the Angels treated him. And then I don't know that it's improved tremendously with the Dodgers, but I haven't heard as many complaints. But, he has there's Dodgers beat writers, and then there's the Ohtani beat writers from Japan. They're only there for him.
Right.
That's the only reason they are at these games.
They don't care about Mookie Betts.
Well, and I guess Yamamoto now too.
Yeah.
But if it was only Yamamoto and what's his name? The reliever.
Sasaki.
It would be a much smaller pool. But it's Ohtani, and so it's huge.
Yeah.
You remember the Darvish's very first spring workout.
I do.
It was like 125 media members.
Literally, there were news anchors from Japan who set up a news desk in Surprise, and they anchored the entire newscast from Surprise, Arizona. Back kind of like when Lester Holt, although he's not, Tom Yamas or whatever the network guys are, when there's a big hurricane, man, you see them right down there, and that's what these guys were doing. This was a hurricane.
Yeah.
And
hurricane. The way those reporters were running around, following his every move, there was definitely some wind, and I remember it vividly. They would run from field to field, and they had ladders, little step ladders for the photographers and the cameramen, and we talked to Darvish's parents and that day, and his dad in perfect English.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
He's Iranian, the father.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that Ohtani has been protected, whereas Bonds is like just the beat writers in there, and he had the Balco stuff at one point popping around and all of this stuff, and he is definitely protected. Now, in the postseason, the starting pitcher has to talk every day,
right?
And so he's going to have to talk before game 3, and then after Well, if he wins, he has to go into the media room. But if he doesn't win, he has to presumably talk around his locker.
Yeah.
But it's it's not as hectic for him, though. Again, in Japan, and this was the Darvish situation, like an A-list celebrity, A-list, and they want to know everything about you, paparazzi, and all that stuff. So that part of it's legit. I don't remember any paparazzi following Barry Bonds around.
No, that's true. No, that's true. Which would make this even harder, right?
Yeah.
And yet he is able to withstand it all, like Woody said. And T.O., you inspired T.O. Thank you, T.O., for gifting all these people the membership to the Supporters Club. You're about to make us cry, T.O., with all this that you do. But thank you very much. More on this series, and that we mentioned this yesterday, but here it is depicted graphically. And I didn't do the research to find out yesterday that my Tigers were part on the bad end of part of this thing. So we said 5 times now two teams have made it to the World Series where one sweeps and the other one goes 7 games. And every one of the 4 other times, the team that went 7 games won the series. Twice against the Tigers, the Giants in 2012. I was at a couple of those games. I went to St. Louis, actually, in 6 to see one of the games, Tigers and Cardinals. And then you see the others, Dodgers way back in 88 with the Athletics. Oh, that's the Gibson year, isn't it? And and Red Sox over the Rockies in 2007. So there's some history to it. There's definitely something to that thought. I don't know. I guess that really does kind of boil down to rest versus rust. I'd love to know if there were like 3 full days off between the series and when Game 7 was in those other years.
I very vividly remember that being the talk for the Red Sox and the Rockies.
Okay.
Because the Rockies, remember, had to win a playoff game.
Yes.
To get into the playoffs. They had to beat the Padres to get into the playoffs. And then I don't think they lost in the playoffs until in the first 2 rounds. And then they had forever off. And I just remember that being a storyline.
Was that Clint Hurdle? That was Clint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, cold at that time in Denver, and I just remember that the rest versus rust thing being a legit storyline. So yeah, I mean, I think it is a thing, and that Tigers team, that 2016 Tigers team, or I'm sorry, the 2006 team.
Yeah,
we were in Detroit. The Rangers were in Detroit for the 10-year anniversary of that team.
Okay. And
Pudge was there because Pudge was on the 06 Tigers.
Yeah.
And that's like a beloved team.
It is.
Really beloved.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, man, these guys were in the World Series runner-up, but man, the crowd was all crazy for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, they swept to get there and then lost in the series. So that's just something. We don't know if it's really anything. Bo Bichette, it looks like, he ran bases. He's been taking swings in the cage. He's been out there, fielding, trying to field his position. I think it's very unlikely that he'll field. The word seems to be he would pinch hit the first couple of games, see how he does, and then maybe be ready to DH after that if necessary.
Well, and I guess nowadays that ballpark, the infield's all dirt.
Yeah,
it's not the cutouts anymore. So
right.
He can run on the dirt, but still, as you know, when you run bases, some of it's on the turf.
Yeah.
There's always the
Yep.
oh no, not
no,
not the turf. And the Toronto turf used to be the worst.
It was bad,
but they've since upgraded. That guy can hit, man. There was concerns about his lack of power. In fact, I would have to look this up. Going back to our first segment, I think he might have hit his first homer of the season in that series.
Is that right?
He entered without a home run. I might be making that up. But anyway, that was a storyline about him this year. He hadn't had any power, but he was leading the league in hits.
Yep.
I'll take that.
Absolutely.
I'll take that.
Every time. So he would be a boost for them, no doubt. He can hit. He can flat out hit. and so he'd be a boost. I don't know that you can get much better than the 3 Japanese players on the Dodgers that have the ratings here. For example, 15 million people watched the 15.8 I think million watched that game 5, that deciding game between the Tigers and the Mariners, and it was one of the the biggest ratings games in years and years and years, decades maybe, in Major League Baseball. For game 4, when Shohei pitched, got 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs, 10.3 million people watched it in Japan.
Man.
We have so many more people, and we get 15 million. They have so many less people, 10.3. They might get higher ratings, and I think that, they might get higher ratings than we do over there.
I'm sure they do.
For this series.
Well, it's crazy.
Or more people.
And I was right. Bo Bichette did homer in the series, but it was not his first of the season.
It was not. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And it was a pinch hit homer.
The world was a better place when beer companies did this. There was a Blue Jays beer back in 1992. Now, I'm sure that this was, Molson or Labatt's, one of the big breweries up there. But how cool is that? And whoever this was, his mom saved it.
Oh, let's pop one open.
Oh, can you imagine how shitty that? Oh, I'm sorry, Kat. How bad that beer is. That's got to be very skunky beer.
It was a pull tab too.
Yeah,
it wasn't even a pop tab. It was a pull tab.
Pull tab, and then you throw it in the lake, Lake Erie or Lake Ontario. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty cool. And we talked about this yesterday a little bit too, and we're late. I'm hurrying. We talked about this a little yesterday too. The Maple Leafs are all in, and the scoreboard. A couple, of course, some of the Blue Jays players, they're watching a Leafs game, and they are so much celebrating this. And it seems to me, Jeff, back in the day, the other teams in a town weren't as big about celebrating the success of the other teams. In other words, they kind of viewed them as competitors. And I think that I like that that's gone by the wayside. I mean, everybody who plays for the Blue Jays is a fan of the Leafs.
Hey, go Leaves.
Leafs, yeah. And everybody that plays for the Leafs is a fan of the Blue Jays, right? So,
sure.
But in the front offices, man, there used to be this competitiveness. I remember people here just being so beaten by Cowboys.
Probably I want to take the business, take attention away from them.
Right, exactly, yeah. And it's like, oh, the Cowboys are winning Super Bowls. We're going to cover them,
Yeah, right.
I mean, even Luds will tell you, even the Stars, we'd come in on a random day. Oh, Cowboys season must be over in the Stars locker room back. Of course, they were winning or getting close to or winning Stanley Cups too. But anyway, that's that. More to talk about. We've got the cleanup segment. When we not only will clean up baseball, we might talk a little basketball next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Oh, it's time for you to do the right thing and become a diehard. It's so easy to do. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's on the screen or go to alldlls.com/join. The coverage that you will get is really unparalleled in this marketplace. We have a beat writer or two for every single team, every single one of the major 4 teams anyway. And we hope to continue to hope to be able to expand that in the way you guys are consuming our shorts and our videos and our shows. We're on a growth mode. So we think that may be possible. We get bigger, we get stronger, we get better. We will cover more. As it is, we cover more than anybody else on a regular basis. So become a diehard today. Get 20% off all of our events, 20% off our merchandise, and all of that great written content that is behind the paywall. It's so cheap. $79.99, $6.50 a day. That's it to get all that great content every day by becoming a diehard.
Yeah, and you get a free shirt.
Yeah.
I'm wearing one, but of course I have my pullover on. I'm wearing the Baseball Time in Texas shirt. John has this one, which I almost wore today. Not gonna lie.
Luckily, usually you've got the pullover. So.
Yeah, I can cover up our.
Hide it.
Our
Otherwise, I'd have to go shirtless.
Oof.
Not
Let's
good.
try to avoid that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com. That's where you're going to get your fancy shirt from any one of the teams that we cover, and even some of the teams we don't cover, like the college teams. I have both TCU shirts, for instance.
Yeah.
So they play West Virginia this weekend at West Virginia, who's terrible. But that's a tough place to play. I've seen a game there. It's my only time in West Virginia. Anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com. Get the hat, too.
Yes. One of the announcements that came yesterday was the fact that Tony Vitello was named as the Giants manager. It's the first time ever that a coach or a manager has gone straight from the college ranks to managing a Major League Baseball team. It's a big, and very interesting decision by Buster Posey. I heard somebody on MLB Network today talking about everything he does is a huge gamble, right? Trading for our boy Devers, big gamble.
Big gamble.
Taking a guy who has never managed or coached at all in the big leagues, big gamble. Like, he's always swinging for the fences, and if they pay off, they're going to be great. And he's Buster Posey. So, that'll certainly help him. But one of the interesting things about him is the success that he's had at Tennessee. And he's a very beloved figure there. And you look at his resume from Tennessee, and you see why. I mean, he won a national championship, but look at all these accomplishments. Look at all the players he has pumped into Major League Baseball, the first rounders, the SEC championships. This guy has had tremendous success at the college level, but will that necessarily translate to being a great professional coach? I don't know. I do know this. He was a minor league coach. He was a pitching coach. Oh, no, I guess this was in college. No, at Missouri, he was a pitching coach.
He was a coach at TCU.
He was a coach at TCU. When he was at Missouri, you know who one of his best pupils was?
Max Scherzer?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
and
there
they're
we go.
best buddies to this day.
Oh, well, all right.
So don't be surprised if Scherzer has a landing spot for next year. And by the way, right now, the Giants have 4 former Tennessee players
is that
in
right?
their system.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if there's any coincidence there or how that works.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, the Rangers, these are the past 2 years, have taken a Tennessee player high in the draft. Dylan Dreiling, the second-round pick in 24, and then this year, A.J. Russell, the pitcher who was coming back from Tommy John surgery, who was like one of the best pitchers in the college game before he was hurt, or one of the more coveted draft prospects before he was injured. So it'll be interesting to get their feedback on that. Dylan's a good guy to talk to. He's pretty funny. Anyway, you wonder how much, I don't want to say a mouthpiece he's going to be for the front office, but he's really stepping into some unfamiliar ground.
Yeah.
But his calling card at Tennessee was, delivering messages and getting guys fired up.
Fiery and emotional.
Great recruiting, obviously, if he has all these former MLB or former players now in the minors. But he's it's going to be interesting to see this one. This one's going to be interesting for sure.
Didn't have this on my bingo card today, but let's talk about Michael Bublé. What?
Oh, okay, great.
Bublé. We're going to talk about The Voice? No. Michael's a coach on The Voice. That's one of my guilty pleasures, Jeff. I'm a Voice guy. Me and my wife. Okay. She's mostly the Voice person, but I've been roped in. Okay, Michael Bublé, and I've come to like the cat on there. I don't like his music much, but he's a Canadian. So needless to say, a Toronto Blue Jays fan.
Right.
But he's torn because guess who uses his song as a walk-up song? Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, boy.
How about that?
Interesting.
How about that? And by the way, I would have to think now if Shohei used it as his walk-up song, Bublé's doing pretty dang well in Japan. You think?
Probably.
Whatever that song is.
Some royalties over there.
Whatever that album is. Do we have albums anymore? Yeah. So
I don't know.
Anyway, Mike's torn.
Well, That's
You
tough.
feeling for him?
That's a tough one for Michael
one for-
Bublé.
Yeah,
Boy,
yeah. I bet he's got a tough life.
wow.
Yeah. So
laying in his bed of cash right now, pondering that one.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dino checks in from Australia.
Yes. And didn't you have Laureano?
I did. I think that's a good fit. I was thinking about that, and Laureano started his career at the A's, and I believe he at one point was embroiled in a little bit of a controversy with Adrian Sampson. Remember pitcher Adrian Sampson? There was something that happened between those two and the A's that year. And I don't remember precisely what it was, but I remember them being pissed at Sampson.
Wow.
So I don't think that would keep Laureano from joining the Rangers because, it could come down to the highest bidder situation.
Sure.
He had a great year. He really did. He had
did.
a big bounce back year.
Yep.
So I like,
and he won't cost a ton.
He won't cost a ton.
No.
No.
He won't
So
cost a
you're
ton,
trying to beat the $12 million you're going to pay Adolis if they move on from Adolis, right? So I think he would make less than $12 million.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be okay with
and
that.
are you just holding over that? Is that just a placeholder for Walcott in 27?
Yes.
I don't know, but I also, Dino, would love to see that happen.
Yeah, and the reality is they have not begun grooming, have they? Walcott as an outfielder, right? We keep talking about he'd be a great fit in right field, but they haven't even begun that process. So don't know if that's in their mind. Yeah,
I've asked about that, and they're it could be, he's so athletic.
He can play anywhere.
And he has such a big arm that he could easily transition to right field. But when he was on the weekly show, the weekly podcast I do with John Moore, not that long ago, he said, nope, never played the outfield. He's played third. So there's that. But right now he's the shortstop. He's a big guy. He says he's up to 6'4.5". His dad is 6'5". And this is the era of the giant shortstop. So as long as he's handled the position, I know there's a guy named Corey Seager there that we'd have to figure things out.
Just got to move him out of there.
So anyway, we'll see.
Not surprisingly, the Silver Slugger finalists are out. And there were no Texas Rangers on that list, Jeff.
Shocking.
Yeah. I'm very surprised too. The one of the key words within the phrase Silver Slugger is slug.
Oh.
And frankly, the Rangers didn't do much slugging. I think they were 29th out of 30 teams in slug. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't have anybody. And who would you suggest? Maybe Josh Smith, because did he win it last year, didn't he?
Yeah, but no.
Nobody there.
The umpires. I always am curious about this. The World Series umpires have been announced.
Oh.
Will Little will work the plate for game 1. Mark Wegner, the crew chief, will be at first. John Tumpane at second base. Alan Porter, who I really like, at third base. Adam Hamari, left field. Jordan Baker, another good dude, right field. Adrian Johnson, reserve. Adrian Johnson's terrible, so let's hope that nobody gets injured or gets sick. I was on a flight back from spring training. Jordan Baker was in the seat in front of me. He couldn't have been nicer to the flight attendants and the people next to him. He was so nice.
And they travel commercial all the time, too.
And then John Tumpane, I believe, one day in Pittsburgh, they were walking across the bridge to the series there. This is years ago, and I believe he helped talk a guy who was about to commit suicide off the bridge.
I knew I had a thought about him in my name.
I think that was him. But anyway, he's got a weird strike call, and sometimes he can be a little wonky, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, and it's all part of the fun of the World Series, which begins tomorrow. So we'll be anxious to be talking about that for the next week. We've got a Hall of Famer coming in to join us on one of the shows next week. We'll give you more on that a little bit later on. But for now, we thank you for joining us on this edition, and we'll see you on the next edition, which is tomorrow, at 1 o'clock. It'll be the very next edition and the next time you have to chat with us on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.